You know that feeling when you were young and you know you did something wrong, but your parents had no idea and they probably would never know, but you still had this feeling of guilt and you couldn't sleep at night. It wasn't until you finally decided, you know what, I'm going to tell my parents what I did. And you were walking up and getting closer, and you would stop by like the hallway or the stairwell, because downstairs is where your parents were. Or at the end of the hall where your parents were. They were hanging out in the living room, and you're like, oh boy, let's do this. And you go in, and you muster up the courage, and then you tell them that it was you who turned on the heater. You know that feeling? Well, I don't have that feeling actually, but I'm still going to make this video for you guys, and this video is going to be full of honesty. Because, not the drink, alright, this isn't sponsored. I don't have any sponsors. But this is going to be full of honesty because I want you guys to know. And I want you guys to know exactly what happened on Friday, because I know a couple of people are like, okay, exactly what happened. I was reading the forums, and, well, I realized the forums is actually liberal media, because if you look at my likes and dislikes, I have 700 likes, 100 dislikes, so most people like it. But when you go into the forums, everybody hates it because, you know, it's like the liberals, they speak louder. They are still the minority, but they talk longer and louder, like Hitler. Anyway, so that video was rushed. It was rushed. I had to go. I had 30 minutes to put together the video and upload it. And so, because I was going out of town. And so I jumped on. I got a notification that knew that the announcement was out. So I jumped on console.worldoftank.com and I watched the trailer and I was like, oh my goodness, I have a half hour to make a video on this. I'm like, you know what? It's not even going to be edited, not even going to be censored. What I say goes. And yes, somebody said I let my emotions get the best of me, and I will admit I think I did. There were a lot of emotions involved. I was very disappointed in what World of Tanks did, what they decided to add. Now, nothing against the mech mode. I don't think it belongs in a World of Tank game, but I do respect the fact that they wanted to make an homage to one of their way early games, Mech Assault, and that's fine. It's just the way they introduced it. They hyped it up, they got everybody excited for it, and never actually even told us what it was about. You know, they're like, oh, we have this release trailer coming out for you guys, and it's all about the update, or what's coming, and it's gonna be so cool, you guys are gonna love it, and then they never told us what it was. Now, if they had just said, hey, listen guys, in a couple weeks, or in a couple months, or however long, if they actually, warned us about it and said, we're going to be releasing a mode that is an homage to our original game and to our original developers. If they had told us that before they released it, I think it would have been fine. It's like, okay, sure, go for it. And then, and while we are releasing this, we will still be working on future updates, something of the sort. But they didn't. They just said, guys, this is something we've been working on, we're super excited about it, and we will show it to you later. And then they show it to us Friday, 3 days before it's supposed to get released, because it's released today. They don't tell us till 3 days before it gets released what it actually is. And that's where they went wrong, because all these players, like myself, obviously want to play World of Tanks. We were hoping, it would be something good, something spectacular, that is coming to World of Tanks to stay. Like maybe bring back the FE4202, something of the sort. But of course it wasn't. And so there was a lot of split in the community. So I logged in and I said, I'm making a video and I'm saying what I'm thinking. I'm not going to go in there and just be a wargaming fanboy and be like, well, it was a good idea and, they could have done it a little bit better, but I still think it's a great idea and they put love into it. No. I'm going to say what I'm thinking. And that's what I did. I went in and said what I was thinking. But there was a lot of tension building up to this video. And I want to get to that tension, exactly what happened between myself and Raybot, because a lot of you want to know. Now, of course, Raybot is trying her best to appear as the community hero, and so she obviously also doesn't tell you the whole truth. And my video I made the other day wasn't the whole thing either, because like I said, I rushed it together, but today I will tell you everything that happened. Back in December, I got invited to become a community manager. Not a community manager, community contributor. Raybot's the community manager. And what is a community contributor? Well, they contribute to the community. Sounds exactly like it is. I make content, and and it helps World of Tanks. I kind of promote World of Tanks for free, well, I do get something out of it. They give me free premium tanks to try out and try to sell, and they give me codes and all that other stuff. I never actually got codes, unfortunately, but you know that is what it is. And so I was excited about it, and but there are things you sign before you go in. All right. And by sign, I mean you put your username in, so no, they can't sue you. Someone was saying, oh, they should sue you because you broke the code. No, they can't sue me because my name was never binded to the contract. It was just my username, and they already punished the username. They kicked me out of CC. But there's nothing more they can do other than that, because I never used a real name. So, anyway, we go in, and the first thing they say to me is, make your videos as honest as you want, and ask us anything and give us any kind of suggestions you want to this game. Anything you want. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. I have a chance to make a difference in this community. I was so excited. I'm like, okay. So the first thing I do is I say, bring back the FE4202. I mentioned that in Friday's video. That was the first thing I requested. And then all the CCs were also like, that's a great idea, bring it back. And they're all excited, please, 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 bring it back. And so we're all talking back and forth. But there was no response from Raybot or Tank, the developers. They would not chime in whatsoever. They're like, nope, we're not going to say anything, not going to say anything. And you ask them directly. I would ping them. I would say, hey, what about the FE4202? Can you submit a ticket for that or something? Or can you suggest that to developers? And still no response. I was like, okay, whatever. I guess maybe they don't respond. So then I ask them to, can we change the near penetration and average damage to the actual average damage with standard rounds and average penetration with standard rounds? And I'm showing you what that means on the screen now, hopefully. And you know, that's a good idea, because as it shows right now, when you look at the near penetration, it's showing the average penetration between its standard, premium, and HE shells. So you add those up and then divide them by 3. That's what it's showing, which is a little bit stupid in my opinion, because, you know, a lot of players don't actually know what that means, and they think that they have less penetration than they actually do, and they think they do more damage than they actually do, which is not the case. And so I'm really hoping that they would fix that. But, you know, once again, because it was a good idea and it would benefit the community, they ignored it. I was like, okay, whatever. Then the brick came out, and you saw my rant on the brick. Not my rant, it was just a video about how stupid the brick was, the review, and you guys seem to really like it. And I mentioned in the video that it had 7 degrees of gun depression. As you said, 7 degrees of gun depression is awful on a tall German tank. Guess what? That was a lie. I didn't lie. I was misinformed. The community was misinformed. The tank had 5 degrees of gun depression, even though they advertised it having 7. And I went to Raybot right away when I found out, and they buffed it. They just buffed it to 5.2. I went to Raybot right away. I said, Raybot, the brick only has 5.2 degrees of gun depression. They advertised 7 when people bought it. I said, you should probably change it to 7, otherwise you falsely advertised. Once again, because that would benefit the community and not World of Tanks, not Wargaming. She didn't respond. I was like, okay, fine, don't respond. That's whatever, you know. And then, Panama. Panama, we all know Panama. The new map, the Westfield map. You have North Spawn, South Spawn. North Spawn spawn closer to the top of the hill. So North Spawn always gets to the top of the hill first. And South Spawn has a huge disadvantage. I once again mentioned that to Raybot. I said, Raybot, can we get a send in a ticket to have Panama reviewed by the map designers? Because the spawns seem out of balance. Once again, no response. And so then I'm getting a feeling, okay, is she just not responding to me because this is just what they do? Or is it because I'm making really good points and it would benefit the community? So then I did a little bit of a test, and I asked, can we get a unique map for team training? It can be small, but can it have a green screen on it so we can add cool effects to our videos? 1 minute later, she responds with, that's a really neat idea. I will let the developers know about it. So I offered a useless idea, and immediately she jumps on the opportunity and says, absolutely. Now why? Who would that benefit? Just me and other creators. It would not benefit the rest of the community, the rest of the players in any shape or form. Only people who make videos. So of course she jumps right on it. So there was like, my gosh, do you not even listen to anyone in the community? No. And so then I was talking to other people, and I was getting messages from people about their comments being removed from YouTube videos when they were like, you know, bring back the FE4202, or can you fix this, or can you do that? They were getting removed, deleted. And who's in charge of that? Raybot is in charge of that. So once again, there were things getting deleted and removed by Raybot because they went against what she thought or she believed. And then I found out from other people, and they sent me screenshots. I'm not going to show them because I don't want to show names. I'm going to be like that. I was sent screenshots of players making forum posts, and then they would ultimately get deleted by Raybot because that's what she's in charge of. Because they went against wargaming. And so I found out the forums are a place for people to agree with wargaming. Alright, you must have this be on the same page as wargaming. If you're not, your post gets deleted. This, of course, made me a bit upset because it seems to me like wargaming don't want you to have any good ideas. They don't want the community, should I say, to see any of your good ideas, because then people will get mad when those ideas don't come out. And so they're deleting them because, oh no, this guy has a good idea and the community really likes it, and if we don't come out with it, they'll be upset with us, so let's delete it. Delete all good ideas off the forums. And so that's what's been going on. And who's in charge of that? Well, Raybot is, because she's the community manager. That's her job. So once again, you know, a little bit of meh towards Raybot on my end. So let's get into now the rules of being a CC, because like I said, I want to be completely honest with you people. So they came to me and they said, whenever you make a video, you are allowed to be as honest as you want, except you're not allowed to mention names in my videos. No names in my videos. You can be as honest as you want, but you can only make names. When's the last time you guys saw a Toxic Tuesday? You haven't seen it for a while. Why? Because I would have to mention names to show those. And I'm not allowed to do that. So I don't make Toxic Tuesdays anymore because that would be calling people out, which I'm not allowed to do. Now that's like really, really dumb, because now it's like if I show a video of me getting trolled, I'm not allowed to say, okay, MagnaFlashBoy is trolling me. I would have to say, okay, Chiefs are trolling me. Or if somebody from Nightmare is trolling me, I'll use Nightmare as a better analogy because I completely respect Nightmare and I love the clan Nightmare. But let's say Nightmare has a couple of trolls, which of course they do. All clans have a couple of trolls. They have trolls, they're going around, they're bullying people. And I make a video on it. I would not be allowed to say their name. I would have to call out all of Nightmare. I'd be like, so the clan Nightmare is bullying me. They're being the trolls. Nightmare is awful. Nightmare are all trolls. That's what I would have to say. I wouldn't be allowed to say, Pants on Ground is trolling me. Pants on Ground would never troll me. Or Dscape is trolling me. Once again, those two players, fantastic players, they would never troll. But I wouldn't be allowed to say, those two are the ones trolling me. I would have to call out Nightmare because I'm not allowed to use names. And it's the same, it's dumb. And it's the same thing when you're criticizing a company. The company, you might like the company, but just not a couple employees. I'm not going to call out the whole company for someone else's mistake. In my opinion, that's a little bit dumb. I'm not going to get mad at, you know, I walk into a bathroom and it's like a McDonald's bathroom and it's really dirty. They're always dirty, but it's really, really dirty. And I go up to the front and the cook, I yell out back to the cook and I go, your cleaning job is awful. I wouldn't do that. You know, it would be the janitor's fault. Whoever's in charge of cleaning, that's the guy's fault. And so that's what I did. I called out the employee because I'm not going to call out the entire staff. I think that's stupid. And so I was honest. So as you can see, you're allowed to do something in the CC, but you're not allowed to do it. You're allowed to do it, but you have to do it our way. And so that's what they were telling me. And so that really, you know, they kept pushing. And so I pushed back on the Friday video. I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm pushing back. I accept the consequences. Whatever happens, happens. But I'm going to push back because that's what the community wants. Well, that's what I believe the community wanted. They wanted me to be honest, and they wanted me to say what was on my mind. Not what was on Wargaming's mind, but what was on my mind. And so that's what I did. I went in there and I said, okay, these are the thoughts that are coming across my mind, so these are what I'm going to say. And so I did. And that's what happened. And that is why I got kicked out. It was not because of the screenshot, though that, if I didn't post a screenshot, they probably wouldn't have anything to go on me. I posted a screenshot from the Discord, and one of the terms I signed was that I would not show anything from the CC Discord. And I did. I showed something I said. Now, it would be fine if all it had was what I said. Well, it should, because what I say is what I say. I own what I say. But because it had a little question mark at the bottom from Raybot, that's what got me. But I would not have been kicked from CC for doing that, because Raybot is in charge of that. She would have said, listen, just don't do that again, and you'll be fine. It was because of how negative the video was. If my video was just, you know, hey, mechs are coming out, it looks pretty cool, but here's what I said to Raybot, and boom, done with it, you know. It would have been fine. She'd been like, listen, just don't do that again, otherwise, you know, it's all good. Just don't, make sure you don't do that again. I would have probably been chastised, scolded, something like that, and that's it. But because I called Raybot out, and I was negative towards the whole update, that's what did me in. That's why I got kicked. That's why I'm no longer a CC. Because she was upset. I offended her. And so that's what you have to realize is in this game, if you offend staff, you will pay the consequences. And that's just how it works. And so that is why I got kicked. Now, that, I think, is everything. I covered everything, covered the reasons why there was tension between myself and Raybot, the reason why I did the video, and I accept the fact that I'm not a CC. Frankly, I thought the CC program was a joke anyway. Everybody in there are, not everybody, a lot of people. I'm not going to say names because I don't want them to get in trouble for agreeing with me, because that's what will happen if they find out that there are people who actually agree with me. How dare they have their own independent thought. So, I will not say names, but I'm sure you guys can figure it out on yourself. There are a couple who completely agree with me, but most of them were completely on Raybot's side, and completely, oh, Raybot, we feel so bad for you, we're so sorry for you. And it was like, wow, you guys are wargaming fanboys. They don't want to have, they don't care if they're enemies with the community, or if the community doesn't like them that much. All they care about is making sure Raybot likes them. Raybot likes us. We've got to make sure Raybot likes us so that we continue to get our codes. And, well, that wasn't me. I'm like, you know what? My community will be fine if I don't have codes, okay? I'm going to say what needs to be said, so I did. And that's what happened. And I think it was the right thing to do. I really do. Because I don't care to be friends with Wargaming. I want to be friends with you guys. One last thing I was accused of, which I want to get off my chest and make sure you guys all know, was the fact that I said after I posted the video, 3 minutes later, I got kicked from CC. And some people said that's impossible because you don't start slamming Raybot until like 10 minutes in. Well, that just means she didn't watch the whole thing and she skimmed through it and she missed all the points I was making in the first place. As you can see from this screenshot last Friday at 12:41 p.m. and then on this one last Friday at 12:44 p.m. 3 minutes later. I always post my videos into my Discord the second I publish them. And so yes, 3 minutes later, I got kicked from the CC program. Now at the end of this video, I would like to own up and apologize to the community manager. Well, I apologize for being harsh and offending. I'm not going to say sorry for what I said, because I meant what I said. But I do apologize if I offended you. I'm not going to mention who the community manager is because I never did in the video, even though the comments section and the forums make it seem like I did, and when in fact I didn't. Alright, the community manager for World of Tanks is awful. Well, now that I've apologized, is this me wanting CC back? No, I don't want CC back. I think CC on console is a joke. I really do. And I really don't want it back. I don't want really anything to do with it anymore. But, you know, now I'm allowed to say what I want to say in my videos. And that's what I've always wanted. I've always wanted to be honest with you guys. And now I have the freedom to do that again. So, yeah. Anyway, that's the video. I hope you guys all enjoyed. If you did, slap that like button. Let me know what you think now that you've heard the full story. Sorry I don't have screenshots for everything, because when I got kicked out of the CC program, I no longer had access to all the messages I was sending. Not that I'm allowed to actually show messages from the CC program anyway. So even though I've been kicked out, actually technically I would be allowed to show you, but I can't. Because, like I said, I got kicked out, so I can't get screenshots. But that's it. Thanks, guys, for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope this clarified a couple of things. You guys now know the whole story, exactly what was happening behind the scenes, and so now you know exactly why I did what I did and why I got kicked. But that's it. I hope you guys all enjoyed. If you did, slap that like button, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys all later. And next time, hopefully we'll have a regular video for you guys. I know you guys are missing those, but we will have regular videos again. Fantastic. Take care, and peace out.